Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand this Sunday morning for your latest Manchester United transfer news. Hope everybody's doing well. Are we in for a big day ahead? Well, Fabrizio Romano has said it's only a matter of hours before Lisandro Martinez gets officially announced. So, look, I suppose that's a positive. I don't want to be waiting until Monday or Tuesday on this. I'd rather we know he's a United player. Let's get the quotes. Let's get him holding up the shirt and let's move on hopefully to other targets. So potentially we could have that coming up for you a little bit later on today. I had expected it to be Monday morning, but apparently Romano says it's a matter of hours. We're waiting on a visa there. Lots to discuss. I want to get into an interesting article from James Ducker talking about the risks of all these Dutch recruits, and is De Jong potentially another Di Maria? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the training FC is what I would call it. More quotes from Lindelof today, Luke Shaw. We had Harry Maguire last night. We've had numerous other players. We've had McTominay, Rashford. They're all coming out talking about training, new starts. Do you feel like it's a new start? Do you feel like this was the plan that Murta and Arnold was talking about down the pub? Do you feel like United is new, or do you just think we've just brought a new manager in and said, let's just crack on with what we've got? The starting lineup against Brighton 3 weeks today could well be De Gea, Dalot, Varane and Maguire, Luke Shaw, McFred, Bruno, Sancho, Rashford and Martial. That's no new signings in a team that's starting a new season. So we'll delve into that a little bit, but the big story I want to talk about is Ivan Toney. Mark, why don't we sign any half-decent CDM willing to come to our club? Zakaria, for example, says Mark Friedman. And hi Mark, any news on De Jong? We'll talk a little bit about De Jong. There's a bit of an update coming from Sport in Spain, which says that Frenkie de Jong is likely to stay at Barcelona now, which I don't necessarily agree with, but we will talk about, no problems about that. Right, this is it. Okay, so let's go. Let's get this up on the screen for you. So this is coming in from Tom Hopkinson, who's the chief sports writer for The Mirror and for the Sunday People. Remember, we've spoken about the Sunday People, Steve Bates, last night. The Mirror has been quite good in relation to Ten Hag so far. So Manchester United monitoring and keeping tabs on striker Ivan Toney situation. It also goes on to say that whether United will follow through that situation depends on what happens with their current strikers. Ivan Toney is 26. And his contract runs until 2025. At least 40 million quid. At least 40 million quid. And remember, Brentford don't really like us because we've took Eriksen. I'm not saying United wouldn't do this, and I'm not saying that some people in the chat will say I wouldn't mind this deal. In fact, Raz says I do like Tony Links. I think he would suit Ten Hag's system. He's similar to Haller. I'm going to be absolutely honest here and say, and sometimes you've just got to be honest. Like, if we sign Anthony, I'm excited. If we sign Ivan Toney, he's being linked to West Ham and Newcastle. That just says everything. Is he being linked to Man City or Liverpool or Chelsea? Is he? Heck. Replacing Ronaldo with Ivan Toney. There's all sorts of analogies I'm not going to do because it's just disrespectful. The reality is this is a massive drop-off. And let's not forget that if we did go for Ivan Toney, we'd be going for second, third choices again, because actually Ten Hag wants Brian Brobby, who said he's going to Ajax. So we're not only are we losing our best player, we're not even getting the replacement that Ten Hag wants. We're just, so I don't think this will happen because I think financially United will walk away from it because he's so expensive. But I hope it doesn't happen. I really, really hope that Ronaldo stays because I suppose this is part of the argument, isn't it? You've got some United fans saying, yeah, it's time to move Ronaldo on. Time to move him on. Yeah, 37, legend of the club, best player we've got, scored 18 goals in a shit team, but it's time to move him on. What do we need him for? Player of the year, 18 goals in a crap team, one of the best strikers in the world, move him on. Legend of the club, don't care, move him on. He wants to leave. He said we've got no ambition, move him on. Get him out. Get that lad Tony in from Brentford, he'll do a job. Get him in. Get rid of Ronaldo. And there endeth the lesson for me. Let's get rid of one of the best strikers in the world to bring on Ivan Toney. And actually pay 40 million quid for the privilege. So, no, not for me. I don't like the look of this deal, but I suppose it could be true because it's a fair reflection of the market. If Ronaldo gets the move that apparently he wants, where do you go? Where do you go? Haaland's gone, never would have come. Darwin Núñez didn't want to come. There's not really an abundance of strikers out there. Chelsea are facing this problem themselves. Chelsea want a striker. That's why they've been linked to Ronaldo, but they can't bloody find one. So, Mark, please don't bother talking about De Jong. 90% of us don't care. Ivan Toney as Ronaldo replacement is a joke, says Jack Birtles. And we need clarity on Ronaldo's situation. We are due a Ronaldo update. Surely he needs to play pre-season games before the start of the season, says Majak. Well, I want to talk about something. It may not be linked to Ronaldo, but I want to talk about vaccination status and some sort of an undercurrent story that nobody's really picking up on that we are going to pick on. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't know the vaccination status of Cristiano Ronaldo. Oh my God! You know, I leant back on my chair then, and I was like, "Oh, that I think I've pulled a muscle in my back. I've reached round, super spot. I never get them on my back. It's definitely a spot. Oh." And it's one of them red ones that's got, you know, I wouldn't advise popping it anyway, but oh, why have I got that? I blame the heat. Anyway, let's carry on. So yeah, Ivan Toney, no, it's a no from me, but that doesn't matter because I'm not Manchester United's manager or CEO. God, it even hurts when I breathe. Oh, I'd rather get Belotti for free, says Mikael Roach. It's problematic, and yeah, but what I would say about Ivan Toney is we are going to have to spend upwards of 40 million quid, aren't we? So, you know, it's a lot of money for a player that I don't think is actually that good. He's a handful. And I'm sure he would score goals. I'm not saying he's going to be terrible, but, you know, he's not going to strike fear into the Premier League, is he, up front for Manchester United? Stephen has a different point, though, and I'm glad for this because it needs to be even-handed. And Stephen says, I love Toney and think he's a solid player, but over Ronaldo, what is this club doing? You know what, Stephen? I don't even blame the club. If Ronaldo goes, you've got to buy a striker, and the strikers market at the moment is crap. You know, too late, we tried to get Adeyemi. He went to Dortmund. There's not a lot. I mean, people talk about Jonathan David. They want quite a lot of money for him. Alexander Isak, they want a lot of money for him. Neither are guaranteed. I mean, to be honest with you, you're probably better off going for Ivan Toney over Jonathan David or Alexander Isak because at least he's Premier League proven. Osman, ridiculous amounts of money. There isn't really an amazing. I mean, that's why I think Arsenal have done well with Jesus because they needed a striker, and they've gone and got a Premier League one who's won things for a reasonable price. There's the strikers market's not good, and this is why we might have a problem keeping Ronaldo because the strikers market isn't actually that good. So potentially he's in a strong position. But look, we'll have to wait and see. But I don't fancy spending 40-50 million pounds on Ivan Toney, to be honest with you. Mark, do you have any more info on the budget? 120 million seems like a joke, and nobody has been sold yet. What is the board doing? Says Thomas. Why is no other big clubs in Europe in for De Jong? Anyone with Champions League football could get him for around 60 million, says Sidekick Simon. And sorry, Mark, but if Chelsea get Kimpembe on top of Sterling and Koulibaly, that's 10 times the quality of our window, says Connor. Well, we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. Just in relation to outgoings, I don't know whether you saw this, but there's a story coming out that DC United manager, which is now Wayne Rooney, is considering making a move for Phil Jones. There's even talk that we would terminate his contract. I think terminating Phil Jones's contract would probably cost us 5, 6, 7, 8 million pounds because he's still got a couple of years left on his deal. So yeah, we'll end up paying money to remove Phil Jones. Somebody should have paid with their job for giving him a bloody contract in the first place. So yeah, look, maybe we're going to move a player on, but we're not getting money. The biggest problem with United is that new managers have to keep the players from old managers. City only have De Bruyne, everyone else is sold, says Nikolai. Well, I've said that many times before, and I'm sure people have heard me say it before. The problem that you have as a new United manager is that basically as a manager, if you think about it like a jigsaw, you get all the pieces that you want, and then your job is to put that jigsaw together. And to put that jigsaw together at United, because we haven't won a title and we're so far off, this is like 1,000-piece jigsaw where it's all sky. You know, where it's really, really hard to put it together. That's Ten Hag's job anyway, even if he gets backed and is given the pieces that he wants. What makes it even harder is he doesn't get the pieces he wants, and then they actually say, here's a bit of Mourinho's jigsaw, here's a bit of Van Gaal's jigsaw, here's a bit of Solskjaer's jigsaw, make that work. And clearly it's not going to work because he's got 3 or 4 jigsaws mixed together to make one picture. It's impossible to do it. And he's missing bits as well. So it's very, very difficult to do. And as I said last night, United seem to be going down that path because look at the starting lineup for the opening game of the season at the moment. There's no new signings in it. It really is Ten Hag managing Solskjaer, Van Gaal and Mourinho's side, isn't it? It's true. So I've never known that before. The whole point of a new manager is that they build their own team. And there might be one or two that survive long term, but the vast majority of the team changes. Klopp's team has massively changed. Man City, Pep's has massively changed. Tuchel is massively changing that team. So, but Ten Hag is meant to be cracking on with what he's got. I've never heard such ludicrous plans for a football club in my life. But as I say, some of our fans seem to be highly motivated by it. Oh, look at Martial this year. Oh, look at Maguire. Look at Rashford. Look at Bruno. And I'm like, does a leopard change its spots? We haven't won a trophy for 5 years. I think Ten Hag's a very good manager, but he's got to be given his own players. I've never known a manager in history walk into a club, spend next to nothing, and use the same first team and be successful. It's going to be very difficult, really going to be very difficult for him. Isn't Tony the level we are fortunately at now, says Raz. We need players that would want to play for us. I mean, yes and no, you make a good point. Hi Mark, can you wish me a happy birthday, says James. Happy birthday. Even if Ronaldo doesn't go, are we seriously going to the season with Martial as a second first foot striker because he looks happy now? What a mess, says Nick P. Well, again, it's like the midfield, isn't it? We need a winger. If Sancho gets injured, we've got no right winger. We need 2 midfielders. We've basically only got McTominay and Fred at the moment. We need another striker because Martial and Ronaldo isn't enough. We're very short in certain areas. But at the moment, unfortunately, we're talking about Ronaldo going, aren't we? We're not talking about another striker as well as Ronaldo and Martial. This is from Fabrizio on his latest article with Caught Offside. The announcement of Lisandro Martinez is a matter of hours away. He's been very good on announcements for United, Malacia and Eriksen. So expect that today. I was thinking it would be tomorrow, but I will take Fabrizio on this because he has been very good in relation to when things are going to happen. So let's see what happens with that. I want to just move on to this next, and then there's a few other bits as well. Very good article by James Ducker in the Telegraph today. He's out on tour. He's put an article out, and basically what he's talking about is the risk factor of Erik Ten Hag. And you know what? It's not anti-Ten Hag. It's not anti-Ten Hag, and I don't think we need to start moaning about it. It's a really good article of what you should have in journalism, which is journalism to me should always be impartial and asking questions. And the article itself says, look, very encouraging signs visually and from the dressing room in relation to Ten Hag, but there is a risk. Is there a risk factor in relation to all the Dutch recruits he's going for and De Jong potentially being another Di Maria? It's a gamble. Can it pay off? It supposes a question instead of saying, oh, Ten Hag's getting it wrong. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And to me, it's exactly the same as some United fans overhyping players from last year because they can pass in triangles now. They're still the players that let us down last year. I read Harry Maguire's interview last night, and he's like, last season I wasn't very good, and neither was the team very good. But we've got to put it behind us now and focus on the new season. And look, maybe that's a mentality that's going to work for Maguire, but the whole squad seems to be talking about it. We've either got a very select personality squad that can basically just forget the past and move on with the future, or we're severely lacking personalities like we've had in the past, where you use last year as a motivation for this year. One team that comes to mind is the United side that lost out to Aguero's late goal on the final day. I know for a fact that in that dressing room all summer and the following season, they reminded themselves of that Aguero thing every match, every training session. It was a motivator because they were like, we cannot let the standard drop. You can lose the Premier League title in stoppage time of the last game. And that's what happened to them. And they used it as a motivation. It seems to me that United players are going, let's forget about last season. Even we were absolutely rubbish. We embarrassed ourselves and the club. Let's forget about it and focus on the future. That could work, but I also think there's a lot to be said for remembering last season, remembering the embarrassments. When you play Liverpool on the third game of the season, I'd be in the dressing room saying, last year they beat us 4-0 at half-time, 5-0 overall. We need to remember that. We need to be aware of that. We need to be scared of that. And we need to be motivated against that. When we're playing Brighton, when we're playing Brentford, all these bad performances. But I do think that the mentality of this team is on trial, isn't it? Definitely. But in regards to the James Ducker article, I might come across as stupid now, but I haven't heard anything about Tony joining us. Any reliable sources for that? Says, well, maybe if you turned in on time, you'd have seen where the source was, mate. Hi, Mark. Loving the videos lately. Could you elaborate on your tweet last night about watching this space re De Jones's wages? Says, thanks, Christian. For the previous person there, I will just whack it up on the screen for you. De Jong I'll talk about in a minute. Remind me about the wages. So on this Ducker article about the risks of bringing in all these Dutch players and the obsession around De Jong potentially turning into another Di Maria, I think it's a valid point to bring up, but I also think that it's also good in a way that the club has been very Premier League centric. We've bought a lot of Premier League players. I mean, Brexit FC we've been called and all sorts. So we're now doing the opposite, and now that's a risk. I do think a fusion of the two is the ideal, but as I've said time and time again, I don't expect next summer for us to go and buy a load of Dutch players or players that have played for Ajax. I might be wrong, but I don't expect that. I think this summer is a result of United's crappy preparation. We brought in an interim manager in December to prepare for this season. That was his job. Rangnick's job was to assess that squad and then work with us for the next 2 years to rebuild the club. We wasted 7 months because in May we sacked him and then we brought a new manager in. And that new manager came in the middle of May, and United said, these are all our scout reports on the players we've been looking at. And he went, well, no, that doesn't fit in with what I want to do. And the club were like, well, who are we going to buy then? And he's, without any scout reports on players, he's had to go, well, look, these are players that I like. So basically, Ten Hag has had to hand them players in mid-May that he knows and likes. Not that he's scouted, really, that he knows are suitable. So hence Martinez, which was meant to be Timber. So he goes from one Ajax centre-back to the other one. Hence Malacia, who's a left-back in the Eredivisie. Hence De Jong, who he knows available, and he's an ex-Ajax player. Hence Anthony, who is an Ajax player. Hence Eriksson, who is a player that he's trained with him at Ajax. So there is definitely a familiarity theme to everything that Ten Hag has done in this transfer window. But I also think you've got to counter that by the fact that he's come into the job in mid-May. He's not impressed with the recommendations United have scouted, and he's had to come up with alternatives without having the luxury of scouting for the last 6 months for United players. So he's basically going for players that he knows. And it is a risk. Of course it's a risk, but I also want to defend Ten Hag and say that if the risk backfires, it actually backfires for a very obvious reason, that he's a new manager with no scouting reports behind him, having to put forward names because he doesn't like the ones that they've put forward. And hence he's gone for players that are familiar. And if players that are familiar to him are going to be ex-Ajax players, Dutch players, and people who've played in the Eredivisie. I worked in nursing care and I couldn't say, no, I neglected my duties and people died last year, but let's forget that and move on now, says Matt. You could probably work in the Tory party with that, couldn't you? But yeah, I know what you mean. Mark, need to stop focusing on attack. Jason, Rashi and Martial, if we can get them playing, they are top 7. We need to focus on the midfield and defence, says MG. But no, I disagree, MG, because I think you're completely wrong. I think Sancho, Rashford and Martial are very exciting players, but all three of them performing consistently well isn't a given. And also, what I don't understand about people who say that is it is impossible that Martial, Rashford and Sancho are going to stay fit till Christmas, let alone till next May. And it's impossible that they're going to play Thursday, Saturday or Thursday, Sunday every week. Who's the backup? You know, like Man City's front three, if it's Grealish and Haaland and Mahrez, they've then got people like Foden and Bernardo Silva and who else have they got? Alvarez. You know, and that's just off the top of my head. Liverpool have got depth. Chelsea have got depth. We've basically at the moment got Sancho, Martial and Rashford, and then we're playing the kids. That's not good enough. At any level, that's not good enough. We need more depth than that. I would say United have written off this season, just like you said, Mark. They want to take their time until it falls apart, then sack the manager, says William. I think that's a bit harsh. I don't think they've intentionally written the season off. I think their actions are making it very hard for us to predict what's going to happen next season. Morning, Mark. Ten Hag scouting is done next season when Ten Hag was on the back foot coming in May, says Ray. And Vergara scouted by United stand, if you know, you know, says Rashid. So, yeah, look, I think there is a risk to buying all these Dutch players. There is a risk to bringing in Frenkie de Jong. But I don't know what else Erik Ten Hag is meant to do. He gets the scout reports from United and goes, they're not acceptable. So United say, well, what do you want? And it's like, bloody hell, okay. He's got to go for players that he knows. I think next season it'll be difficult. But what that does evidence quite clearly is that there isn't a huge amount of risk in this summer. You know, Ten Hag's having to go for players he knows. United haven't got those players in. And we are 3 weeks today to the start of the season. Which is obviously interesting. On De Jong, just very quickly, I'm not going to talk about De Jong for long, which rhymes. On De Jong, there was a story from Sport this morning. Sport is a Barcelona outlet, can be all over the place, but it is out there in Spain. They're saying it's looking more and more likely that Frenkie de Jong is going to stay at Barcelona. I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to say to that. I don't actually think that's breaking news. I don't think there's been a major development on that. I think that that's just a theory. That, you know, I almost replied to where I saw the tweet, but I thought I can't be bothered with all the Barcelona fans in my replies because it really serves no purpose to anybody. It's looking more and more likely that Frenkie de Jong stays at Barcelona, is it? Well, tell me what's changed from Barcelona putting him on the transfer list and selling him to us. Because they have sold him. We've agreed the fee. Barcelona have sold Frenkie de Jong to us. The only reason this deal's not been done is because de Jong won't agree to the deal at the moment. So him staying, him more and more likely staying at Barcelona would depend on him taking a huge pay cut. Well, if he takes a huge pay cut, then Barcelona win and he's an idiot because I tell you what, Lewandowski and everyone else, they're not taking pay cuts. So Frenkie de Jong's a complete and utter prat if he takes a pay cut at Barcelona, considering they're spending money buying other players who won't be taking pay cuts. But if he takes a pay cut, he's a prat. And he probably will stay. I don't think there's any intention of him taking a pay cut. I still think this is very much going to be a deal to United. I just think it's going to take time. And in relation to my tweet last night, I retweeted a tweet from about 3 weeks ago where I said wages are huge for Frenkie de Jong. They're huge. I don't even know what the fee is, but they're in excess of £300,000 a week and could be in excess of 350 grand a week if United say to de Jong, we're going to foot the bill for the money you're owed by Barcelona, which I think is a disgrace. We shouldn't be doing that. Why should we keep... I mean, I think this de Jong deal's risky anyway because we're so focused and obsessed with it. If we're going to pay Barcelona 85 million euros and now we're going to pay off what Barcelona owe de Jong in wages, I mean, how stupid are we as a football club? Like, are we ever going to learn about paying stupid wages to players? We made Alexis Sanchez the best player in Premier League history. You know, we can't be paying Frenkie de Jong 375 grand a week just to pay off what Barcelona owe him, as well as giving Barcelona 85 million euros. But his wages are going to be huge if he signs for Manchester United. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Let's have a look at this super chat. It's coming in from Barry. He says, morning Mark, anything on Dumfries or is that dead in the water? And any Dybala news? On Dybala we've never progressed it. It's just Dybala's desperate for a move and United have been mentioned by his agent. We're not in for Dybala. That might change. The Ronaldo situation could change that. We might become desperate and have to look at Dybala because there's not many options out there. But at the moment, Dybala is not a player that Ten Hag wants or is interested in. In relation to Dumfries, as we've said many a time, he is a player that Erik Ten Hag wants. Inter Milan are willing to sell. Dumfries would like to come to Manchester United, but we cannot sign Dumfries until we move a right back on. Now, as I've said before, I've had information that Wan-Bissaka will be sold, not loaned, sold. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. We must have an interest in Wan-Bissaka. Until that happens, though, we can't move for Dumfries. And we may not go for Dumfries. You know, he might be out of our price range. I mean, Romano was on the show last Monday saying that Inter would want 40 million euros. So I think that would put him out. What a masterpiece against Everton, says Zayn Miasi. I presume you beat Everton pre-season. Dybala would be a mistake, says Darren G. Sangari news was a load of crap. We spoke about that last night. Just actually very quickly, just Zayn's actually reminded me of something. Our next pre-season game is on Tuesday against Crystal Palace, and then we finish off our tour of Australia with a game in Perth against Aston Villa next Saturday. Now, Villa played a very competitive game against Leeds last night. It was really quite rough, so I'm looking forward to that Villa game. The Palace game, Ivan says, saw a lot about Sangare. Any truth in it? Absolutely none. It was a load of crap yesterday, which was put to bed quite quickly, actually. The Palace game on Tuesday, I was looking forward to it. I didn't realise that they've only got 10 senior players on tour. They've left loads of players behind because of vaccination uncertainty. So apparently Australia relaxed their rules on vaccination entry on the 6th of July. But Crystal Palace, not being aware of what was going to go on, basically left a load of players behind who aren't vaccinated. And there was a story in the Mail a few days ago saying that Crystal Palace have only taken 10 senior players on the tour, which means that that's not going to be a very strong Crystal Palace team that plays against us on Tuesday. So that's a bit disappointing in a sense, isn't it? But it did get me thinking, because I think there was some Man City players that were not allowed to go on the tour in America because, again, they've got rules on entry as well. So I just, complete speculation. I don't know, but maybe some of these players that United can't get on the tour might be something to do with that. Maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know. Because if it's impacted Palace, I think Chelsea haven't taken a couple of players on tour because of it as well. Maybe some of the players that we haven't had on the tour or are unable to join the tour. I mean, it'd be unusual that Palace can't take so many players and then United can take everybody. So maybe there's something in that. I don't know. But what I do want to say is that we have got... what was I going to say? Yeah, so we've got Palace on Tuesday. Hi, Mark. Do you still think we can sign Anthony and Tielemans, and do you think Ronaldo will stay, says Amos? Well, I've never thought we were signing Tielemans, so I can answer that one very, very quickly. I'd like us to buy Tielemans, but no, I don't think we will. Anthony, well, let's see what happens. Hopefully this Lisandro Martinez deal does get announced today, because we know after that De Jong is going to take some time, and it leaves us some time to try and do other deals. Look, I'm enjoying the tour, but actually I'll be glad when we're back. I'm looking forward to the middle of next week when everything's back training at Carrington, and we're a week and a half out from the start of the season, and we should know then at least Lisandro Martinez and Eriksen will be training with the team, and maybe Ronaldo will be back. I don't know, but we're in a bit of limbo at the moment, aren't we? Because we're out on tour and it's enjoyable, but that team is not that enjoyable, to be honest. We're second chance FC, aren't we, at the moment? Like, everybody who's playing, most of them played last year, and it's like the excitement is that Ten Hag is going to make them better players. But I mean, I haven't got a problem with that, if I'm honest. I've got no problem with Erik Ten Hag turning some of them crap players last year into good players this year. I mean, we all benefit from that, but everybody knows that logically the way forward is fusion. It's like, okay, let's improve the players from last year, but let's bring 5 or 6 new players in. And at the moment, that's just, we're not getting any evidence of that. And yeah, look, we have got Eriksen and we have got Lisandro Martinez, and that means we've signed 3 players, but they're not part of the setup, are they? I know Malacia is, but Eriksen and Lisandro Martinez, they're not playing in the next 2 games. So the tour just feels like it's a little bit like, apart from, hopefully Garner says he's going to be back training tomorrow, which means he probably misses the Palace game. So James Garner's gone on tour and missed 3 of the 4 games by the sounds of it. Iqbal and Savage has been exciting. We've not seen Garnacho yet. I really do. I mean, obviously every time we see Malacia, it's good. But I do think that the vast majority of this tour has been a little bit, well, I've seen it all before. Which is great for Ten Hag to work with these players and try and improve them. But I'd love to have seen a little bit more excitement around actual recruitment and them being implemented into the team, which we're not going to see until they return from the tour. So as much as I'm enjoying the tour, I am looking forward to them getting back from the tour so we can get Martinez and Eriksen training and actually start to look at what this team is. Because whatever team he picks against Palace and Villa, there's a big chance that could be the starting lineup against Brighton. But on the other hand, Eriksen and Martinez will both be available, and I'd like to think that both of those players will start. So we're not going to find this out until they get back, are we? And also, obviously, you've got to add Ronaldo into that equation. And hopefully, we'll get another signing in before the start of the season. Mark, I'm tired of United giving me grey hair. Even if De Jong comes to us, I'm going to give him stick for disrespecting us, says Mikael Roach. Ruderish says, apparently PSG have signed Ekatike. That's that striker, isn't it? Which means Skamaka's still available. I mean, don't ever buy him on FIFA. He's shit, but in real life, he's quite good. We don't. The Ajax player you signed, Saliba, was stunning. He and Gabriel, what a partnership, says Zane. Zane, you're so excited, you're not even putting your sentence together properly now. 50 million for Lisandro Martinez is too much. We should sign Koulibaly, says Swex. No, I think Koulibaly is a very good signing for Chelsea, but I would rather sign Lisandro Martinez. And I know people will laugh at that, but I think, Koulibaly's 31, Harry Maguire's 29, Varane is 29. I think we need a centre-back who is the age of Lisandro Martinez. Maybe even a little bit younger, but certainly 24 is not a problem. We need a centre-back that we know is going to be part of this team for the next 5 years, because that's the plan for Ten Hag. Koulibaly could still be playing at 34, 35, but I think we've got to look, with our signings, we have got to look a little bit long-term. And I know Eriksen's 30, and that's not necessarily long-term, but we have got a lot of players now who are sort of between the age of 26 and 30, and I think we need to have a few more players between the age of like 25 and 20. And I know we've got a few, you've got Sancho's in that age group. I think Rashford would still be in that age group. But I like the profile of Lisandro Martinez. I don't like the price. Some people take this really offensively. I don't know why. It's not Lisandro Martinez's fault. It's not Harry Maguire's fault we spent £80 million on him. To be fair, it isn't. It's United's fault. And Lisandro Martinez is a really exciting player, but there's absolutely no way he's a £55 million player. And that's what we're paying, £65 million when add-ons are in. No Eredivisie player should be going over for £55 million anyway. Striker, winger, midfielder, I don't think Eredivisie players should be going for £55 million. We've just bought a centre-back for that. So Ajax have done a really good deal for themselves there. I don't care how much we spend on a player normally, but knowing we're operating on a limited budget, that's where it bothers me. If we're Man City, I don't care how much we pay for Lisandro Martinez. I don't care if we pay 80 million, but knowing we've got a limited budget, that's the frustration, because Ajax have done really good business there. I'm sure, well, I can never be sure, but I'm sure Lisandro Martinez will be a good signing. But we probably have overpaid a little bit there. Remember when we wanted Koulibaly and Napoli asked for 150? We could have had Koulibaly instead of Maguire, but the board wouldn't pay an extra 10. Well, yeah, that was the mistake, Dazzo. We should have gone for Koulibaly instead of Maguire, but, blame it on Solskjaer and the board. If TONEY would surprise a lot of people as he would be Dwight York type, would be unreal, says Andrew Ellis. See, there's a fan. It's our fault for being so slow that we've had to pay too much, says Ben. Yep. Is Hannibal going to go on loan, says Gaston. I would imagine Hannibal Mabry will be going on loan because he's not had a look in on the tour, which means that Ten Hag probably doesn't feel that he's ready for United first team. So I would imagine he's going to go on loan. And he should go on loan, really, because he's playing international football, isn't he? So, yeah. And I think also, where's Mabry going to play? There's a lot of competition in the position. Excuse me. Hi Mark, selling Ronaldo and buying TONEY would be going from driving a Mercedes for driving a 2021 Haas. No disrespect to TONEY, says Stephen the Hazard. I'm sure you just said you'd like TONEY. What about Herrera and Idris Agay? PSG have not taken them on tour. You think they could be CDM options for United, says Suraj. They could be, but they're both 32. I've got no problems buying 32-year-olds, but are they damaged goods now? Are they past it? We probably do need something a little bit more future proof, if you know what I mean. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. Seth says your minions are trying to cook me on your quote tweet. What quote tweet, Seth? But Seth, the only thing I've quote tweeted this morning was you saying that TONEY's a more complete striker than Ronaldo, and all I've said is if I speak. If you put an opinion out there on Twitter, you're going to get an opinion back. And there's just no way Ivan TONEY's a more complete striker than Ronaldo. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get into it because that's what I said. Toney would be a backup for Martial. Yeah, I don't think... Well, he might start. I don't know. But I don't think we'll do that deal, by the way. I don't think we should do the deal. I don't think we will do the deal. And I think one of the big reasons we won't do the deal is if we go knocking on Brentford's door, they're going to go, oh, hello, you're the ones who took Eriksen off us, are you? Yeah, can we have Toney? Yeah, you can. The bidding starts at 50 million quid. And that's United out because we can't... We're not... You know, if Ivan Toney had 1 year left on his contract... You might be able to do something if Toney was like pushing for the move. He's got 3 years left on his contract. I doubt he's got a release clause. 3 years left on his contract. 26. Did reasonably well in the Premier League last year. They're going to go straight away 50 million quid. You know, 40, 50 million. Hi Mark, are you happy with Malacia or would you have gone for Bassi? What do you honestly reckon will happen now with transfers as TG? I mean, look, it's only 2 pre-season games I've seen of Malacia, and I would say that he's not stood out as a world superstar, but I didn't expect that. You're spending £12 million on a player with add-ons. He's a player that I think is going to develop. I remember Patrice Evra signing for United, and he didn't look anything like what he became. So, and look at Donny in pre-season, he's looked rubbish. So, you can't judge a player on 2 pre-season games. I think Malacia has done well in the 2 halves I've seen him so far, but really, I'm not looking for Malacia to be pushing Luke Shaw straight away. I think once the season starts, we'll start to see more and more of Malacia. He's still getting used to the pace of the Premier League. He's still getting used to training with the United. I think he's done well so far, but yeah, he's not shone as like this is going to be the best left back in the world. But I wouldn't expect that anyway. I think patience with Malacia is very important. He's young. The price tag is very low. I expect more from Lisandro Martinez and Eriksen. I think those 2 are players that are going to go into the first team. Malacia is a slow burner, and I'm happy with that. What minions and how do I join, says Nick P. Hi Mark, you happy with that? Yeah, I've done that one from TG. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Quick update morning show. We expect to be live again at some point today with the news about Lisandro Martinez signing. So it'd be interesting to know what he's got to say, and is there a slim chance that he'll join the tour? I don't think so, because that's meant to be coming out at some point today. So make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and get involved. Also, to the members, we've got our members video coming out for you a little bit later on today as well. It's to do with our Fantasy Premier League that you can get involved in if you are a member. If you want to join, click the members button. I'm going to be picking my first draft team today as well. So I'll be showing you the video of that, how it works, and you can join and have a look at that if you're interested in that. Thanks everybody for watching. I will be back very soon at some point, I think, because I think we'll be back for Lisandro Martinez announcement. But if not, we're live at 7 o'clock tonight, because obviously 8 o'clock on a Sunday, I do my live show on Talk Sport. So it'll be 7 o'clock on United Stand tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care.